Here we have a SAT math problem. Okay, let's go to the question. In the xy plane, the graph of the linear function f has a negative slope and a y-intercept at 0, k, where k is a positive constant. Which of the following must be true? Here we have three statements and we have to find one or more statements are true or not. Okay, first let me draw an xy plane. Here I have drawn an xy plane, and now we have discussed the graph of the linear function. Usually the graph of a linear function is a line, and the question says the linear function f has a negative slope and it has a y-intercept 0, k, where k is a positive constant. That is, it has a positive y-intercept. Okay, since the linear function f has a negative slope, its graph will be a falling line. Okay, now let me draw a falling line with a positive y-intercept over here. Okay, here I have drawn a blue color line, which is a falling line, because when we look at this line from left side to right side, it's going down. So it's a falling line because of the negative slope. And also it must intersect the y-axis on its positive side, because here the y-intercept, the y-coordinate k is positive. So this is a y-intercept, that is a point at where the line intersects y-axis. Since the y-intercept is 0, k, we have the value k over here, and we can mark this one as a point, that is a 0, k. In the given statements, the constants a and b are the values of x, and this f is the value of y. That is, this f of a is the value of y when x equals to a, and this f of b is the value of y when x equals to b. And this k is the value of y because k is being as a y coordinate at the y-intercept. Okay, now let's verify the first statement. That is, if a is greater than b, then f of a is less than f of b. So since a is greater than b, we have to mark this value a on the right side of b on the x-axis. Okay, now let me mark it. Let me mark b over here and a over here. Here a is greater than b. Okay, now let's get the points corresponding to the values b and a on the line over here. So then we'll have the point over here corresponding to this value b on the x-axis, that is b, so the corresponding y value is f of b. Okay, now let me get the point corresponding to this value of x, that is a. So here we can mark the point, the x coordinate is a, and to get the y coordinate we have to plug in this value a into the function, then we get f of a. Okay, here corresponding to this point, the value on the y-axis has to be the y coordinate, that is f of b. Okay, corresponding to this point, the value on the y-axis over here is the y coordinate, that is f of a. Here on the y-axis, f of a is below f of b, so clearly f of a is less than f of b. That is, if a is greater than b, then f of a is less than f of b. So the first statement is correct. Okay, now let me erase some stuff over here and verify the second statement. Now let's verify the second statement. That is, if a is less than 0, then f of a is greater than k. Already we know that this a is a value of x. Since a is less than 0, we have to plot this value a on the negative side of x-axis. Okay, now let me mark a over here on the negative side of x-axis. And now let me get the point on the line corresponding to this value of x, that is x coordinate is a, and to get the corresponding y coordinate, we have to plug in this a for x into the function, then we get f of a. Okay, now to get the value on the y-axis corresponding to this point, we have to consider the y coordinate at this point over here, that is f of a. Okay, and the y-axis over here, f of a is above k, so clearly f of a is greater than k. So that is, when a is less than 0, f of a is greater than k. So the second statement is also true. Now we can verify the third statement, that is, if a is greater than 0, then f of a is greater than 0. Since a is greater than 0, we can mark this value a on the positive side of x-axis. Okay, now let me mark the value a over here on the positive side of x-axis, or I can mark the value a over here also, because everywhere the value of x is positive. Okay, now corresponding to this value of x, let's get the point on the line over here. So at this point, the x coordinate is a and the y coordinate is f of a. Okay, now to get the value corresponding to this point on the y-axis, we have to consider the y coordinate of the point over here, that is f of a. Okay, now corresponding to the value of x, a over here, we can get the point on the line over here. Here the x coordinate is a and the corresponding y coordinate is f of a. And corresponding to this point, the value on the y-axis over here is the y coordinate of the point over here, that is f of a. Okay, so here I consider the value a two places on the positive side of x-axis. So for the first one, I got the value of f of a over here on the positive side of y-axis. So in that case, this f of a is a positive, that is f of a is greater than 0. Okay, when I consider this A over here, I'm getting the point over here. Corresponding to this point, I'm getting the value f of A on the y-axis over here. Actually, this is the negative side of y-axis. So the value f of A over here must be negative, that is less than 0. So when A is greater than 0, there are two possibilities. One is f of A is greater than 0 and other one is f of A is less than 0. But the third statement says if A is greater than 0, f of A is greater than 0. We cannot accept this one as true. So we can reject this one. So among the given three statements, only the first statement and second statement are true. So we find 1 and 2 in answer choice A. The correct answer choice for this question is A.